Morning, Trainiacs. Just finished a short little recovery, half-hour open water swim. It's Friday, get ready for a bigger weekend. As a lot of you are getting ready for your first bunches of races, I bet a lot of you are saying, well, I don't want to look silly when I go into transition. So today, we're going to talk about some things that you can do so that you don't look like a total noob on race day. And so you feel confident, you feel like you fit in, you feel like you're well prepared and you have a better race. Hopefully, if you're really lucky, you can look this sharp. Don't hold your breath though. So, all right, new triathletes, when I talk about not looking like a total beginner for your first triathlon, I'm not talking about having to buy a $10,000 bike or some $500 triathlon suit or like upgrade to disc wheels, anything like that. Sure, all of those things are great, but they're things that happen over the course of an entire lifetime in triathlon. Like, I'm 10 years into it and still there's things that I'm like, I'd really like to have that thing, whether it be now an endless pool or the new Nike Next Percent shoes, but we accumulate them over the course of a lifetime. I remember 5-6 years ago that I wasn't making a ton of money. There were no supportive sponsors out there to help me get all of these nice Ventum bikes and disc wheels. So I had a $600 tri bike for the first 5 years in triathlon. You know what? That's okay. But what we're talking about for your first triathlon is how can you just not feel out of place? Because that feeling of feeling out of place and looking at your gear and looking at everyone else's gear, it gives you a feeling of being unprepared, and that could make for a less enjoyable race. And what I want you to do is get out to your first triathlon, and yeah, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna be hard. That's why we do this, to challenge ourselves, but we don't wanna feel embarrassed. We wanna walk up to that start line feeling confident, and with some good training, get across the finish line feeling strong. So here are some simple upgrades or tips that you can use to make sure that you don't feel and sometimes look like a total beginner. The first one is to either rent or buy a wetsuit. There are a lot of racers out there that can absolutely race without a wetsuit, but as soon as you go in the water, you are going to get cold. And unless you are a former college level elite swimmer, you are definitely going to benefit from using a wetsuit. And if you're a new triathlete, that benefit is also safer, because you're gonna be buoyant. So instead of having that sense of panic and everyone climbing over top of you and you just sinking down when you're not wearing a wetsuit and starting to shiver because you're getting cold and having just a complete hellish, torturous experience, having a wetsuit is safer, and you're going to be able to float along and even let a lot of the current created by all the swimmers around you pull you along. Now, you don't have to go and buy the $1,200 Roka suits that I wear. You can go and either rent a local wetsuit, but that's kind of gross because other people have peed in it. What I recommend, however, is buying an inexpensive wetsuit. I think the Xterra Vortex on Amazon is only about $170. It's the first wetsuit I used for the first 4 years in triathlon. Great wetsuit, very durable, and you know what? You can probably sell it when you're done with it for about $80 or $100. So instead of spending $100 one time to rent a peed-in wetsuit, you can essentially spend $70 or $80 to have your own wetsuit and pee in your own wetsuit for years to come. Next, take that visor off your helmet. There's no real reason for it. You're probably going to be wearing some shades. It's not aerodynamic. It doesn't serve a huge heck of a lot of purpose when you're out there. So yeah, when you're just in triathlon for the first time, it's not like this is a make or break thing, having some super high-end helmet. But you're gonna notice when you walk into transition that very few people have a visor on their helmet, and there is a slight performance benefit to taking that visor off. And the reason for that is because about 80 to 85% of our total drag that we have to push through the air is created by our total body. First thing that hits the air that we're pushing through is our helmet. And a $500 helmet is just as much of a speed enhancer as a $5,000 set of wheels. I'm not saying you have to go and buy a $500 helmet, but if you can make the helmet that you have just a little bit more aero, these are the kinds of small gains that you can make to get faster and feel a little bit more confident because you look like everyone around you in the race. Similar to that, reflectors on your bike. I have said for a long time, for your first race, use whatever bike you have available to you. You got a mountain bike? Use your mountain bike. You got an old road bike that you borrowed? Use that old road bike. It doesn't have to be a triathlon bike. But reflectors on a bike, that's just like faux pas. There has not been a bike that I have not ripped the reflectors off immediately. I think that they're just on there for I could probably look this up. By federal regulation, every new bike intended for use on the road comes equipped with reflectors. Once you've bought the bike, it's perfectly legal for you to remove the reflectors if that's your thing. But while it's legal to ride that bike without reflectors, what's not legal is riding your bike during a period of darkness without the required reflectors. And you know what? Triathlons are not held in the dark, so you don't have to have those reflectors, and you're gonna look a lot cooler if you don't. Actually, the fun story, just between you and me here. Don't tell my wife NTK that I said this, but I was building up her most recent bike and I pulled off all the reflectors and I threw them in the garbage. And then a couple days later, I noticed that she pulled them out of the garbage because she intended to put them on her bike. I put them back in the garbage before she could notice. And now I think she's looking for those reflectors, wondering where did those reflectors go? Well, they're in the dump. Shh. Just look cool without reflectors. Next thing, don't have a picnic in transition. Whether you're in transition 1 or transition 2, everything that you need for the next discipline, be it going from the swim to the bike or going from the bike to the run, should be set up in such a way that you can get in and out of transition really quickly. So this means don't be changing like your entire wardrobe in transition to get on the bike. Don't be getting out onto the run slathered in 4 minutes of applying sunscreen or eating in transition. Having this huge transition setup is one of the real telltale signs that athletes don't really understand that once you get onto the course, the bike is like a moving buffet. You're just eating and eating and eating, and everything can be strapped to the bike or in your jersey pocket underneath your wetsuit, so that when you get into transition 1, boom, you get out onto the bike right away. You don't have to fill everything up. You don't have to eat in transition. It's all there for you, or strapped onto your bike with electrical tape or with a bento box on top of it. And then similar to the run, what I like to do at the run is basically take everything that I need for the run, stuff it into a hat, have that hat lying on the ground, put on my shoes, grab the hat, run out. And then everything that I need for the run, I'm like putting on as I'm running. And essentially this is making your bike faster and your run time faster because you're not wasting a bunch of time in transition. Be quick in transition. It's free speed. Finally, do brick runs. Do quite a number of workouts, at least 6, going from the bike to the run as quick as possible. One of the surest signs of a brand new triathlete is somebody who is limping within the first few kilometers coming out of transition 2. Why is this? Well, it's really hard for the blood flow to reroute quickly from biking muscles where we're not holding up our entire body weight. Basically, there's a saddle and some elbow pads holding up our body weight, and then boom, we hop off the bike and we have to hold ourselves upright, and we got to use our legs holding up our entire body weight. Now, all it takes is about 6 brick workouts to really get the blood flow rerouting quickly and get you onto that run quickly. So do a number of brick runs, A, to allow this reroute of the blood flow to happen, and B, learn how to pace yourself coming out of T2. Don't go out there thinking that you're Usain Bolt and you're gonna kill the run. Nobody kills the run if they go out thinking they're gonna kill the run. Go out smooth. So all right, Trainiacs, that is it. Hopefully these give you some guidelines and helpful tips to make you feel like you are a little bit more in the know when you go to your first race. But bottom line, enjoy it. Have fun. Your first race is going to be a learning experience no matter what you do. Your first time going from one distance to the next is going to be a learning experience no matter what you do. I just did my first full Ironman distance race this year after 10 years in triathlon. Still, it was a learning experience that I wasn't sure of. So that's the great thing about triathlon is we're constantly challenging ourselves, we're constantly learning, and we are constantly becoming better versions of ourselves. As long as we're doing that, we're all right. If you like these beginner tri tips and you're a new triathlete, hit the subscribe button below because we got lots of tips. 3 videos every single day. Awesome Instagram channel. Highest rated triathlon podcast in the world. I like to think we do good things. Later, Trainiacs.